My hands stable, feel able to turn the tables, I can just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there, it's on the deck end. Everything I've ever wanted, dreamed of just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do. Just like every other podcast.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drunk Turkey Show. I'm Daniel. Big Blue is going to be joining us here shortly. He's here shortly is now. How's it going, Big Blue? Yeah, you're still having some internet problems, my man. You look like you're moving very slow.
Good, man. I had to disconnect my internet. I'm having some internet issues, man, today.
No problem, man. Maybe you should restart your computer and then come back in.
All right, let me try that. And then I'll go unplug my router like it's suggesting. All right. I'll be back.
All right, cool. So in the meantime, we got a couple of things that we'll discuss with you guys. The first one is referencing an incident with a Seattle cop who accidentally had his body camera recording, and it caught a conversation that he had with another person, and some of the remarks that he was saying are pretty controversial right now. But before we get into it, I want to talk about what led up to the conversation that he had. So we're going to watch a couple of videos, and then we'll go and we'll have this discussion.
We get to see Seattle officer Kevin Dave's actions behind the wheel, as well as what he did after hitting the woman right here in this intersection. Now,
a little bit of backstory for those that aren't aware of this. The initial incident was a officer-involved accident involving a pedestrian, where the pedestrian ended up losing their life. So this is a trigger warning for that. And this lady who lost her life is the topic of discussion in the Seattle police officer's body cam that we'll be reviewing shortly after this. But this is basically part of the incident occurred that started this whole thing.
Are not showing most of the video from the body-worn camera out of respect for her family, and it may be disturbing for our viewers. But this video is what investigators are reviewing to determine if the officer followed policy. Seattle officer Kevin Dave chirps his police sirens. The roar of his engine heard on his body camera. His speedometer shows acceleration up to 74 miles per hour, responding to a priority 1 call, but within seconds.
3 Mary 2, start a supervisor, start fire for a struck pedestrian. Is it
the same location, sir?
Negative.
Jaahnavi Kandula was in the crosswalk at the Thomas and Dexter intersection when Dave's patrol car hit her. King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office released the video after Fox 13's public records request. First published by Publicola, the video shows Dave performing CPR on Kandula moments after hitting her as several first responders start showing up.
You all right? No, I'm not all right.
I'm muted. Sorry about that. Yeah, I realize that now. So, anyways, what I was saying was there was no urgency by the officer that got there who responded. Secondly, I thought that was a little bit of a concerning, thing for me. And also, the other thing that that was concerning was his speed. He was doing 75 in a residential area that had a 25-mile-per-hour speed zone. Like, I don't know, what the laws are in Seattle or things of that nature, or Washington, but in most places that I know, there's policy, and sometimes, and all of that policy determines, the speed and the speedometer and how fast you can go above the speed limit responding to a certain type of call. I have never seen anywhere that a specific speed is okay. It's usually, 10 or 15 miles above the posted speed limit. So it's usually and typically not that much. So I personally think that the officer involved in the accident should be charged for the as probably a manslaughter for the neglect cause of this person, Miss Kandula's life. And our thoughts and prayers go out to her and her family. Can't imagine what they're going through right now. But we'll continue.
Just take care of it.
Officials say Dave was initially on his way to an overdose on January 23rd. It was a priority 1 call, which the department classifies as the highest priority of calls. Video shows him passing red lights at high speeds, slowing down slightly when suddenly Kandula is hit.
What's wrong? He was tripping the siren. Is that what you heard that one? She was in the crosswalk. She saw me. She started running through the crosswalk. Slammed on my brakes. Instead of staying back where she should before crossing.
The Office of Police Accountability continues investigating whether the officer complied with policy.
I can have 100 minutes. I can have. There's nothing for me to do right now but sit, and that is the worst thing to do. Right? You just get to sit here. So many questions that are unanswered. So many questions.
The speed limit is 25 miles per hour on Dexter Avenue North. In a previous statement from Chief Adrian Diaz, he said any serious traffic collision on city streets, whether officer involved or not, is investigated as a potential criminal matter by the Traffic Collision Investigation Squad. Further stating that detectives calculate vehicle operation and speed, lines of sight, lighting, roadway, and traffic conditions, witness observations, and any camera footage in the area, and any other material factors.
You guys can try for body camera.
We reached out to the police department to see if the chief or administration would provide statement since the release of this new video. We are waiting to hear back, but have been previously told the department can't comment on this crash because it is still an open investigation with the OPA. The prosecutor's office says it will determine if charges will be filed against this officer by early August. Reporting in Seattle, Funke Thompson, Fox 13 News.
So let me know when you're ready, Big Blue, to come in. I'll put you in. Horrific. It was just horrific. This is the New York Post article on it titled "I effed up, body cam footage released after grad student life taken by speeding cop car." The Seattle cop who struck and killed a grad in January while speeding without his siren admitted he effed up after the tragic crash. Newly released body cam video shows Officer Kevin Dave was responsible at upwards to 74 miles an hour when he hit and killed Jaahnavi Kandula in a crosswalk at 8 p.m. on January 23rd. Dave had chirped his siren but did not have it running constantly as he plowed into Kandula. Now, understand why he was chirping his siren. That is a tactic that is typically done when, you know, an officer is running code would mean, you know, lights and sirens, right? But if he's going or she's going to a call, let's just say a burglary in progress, you don't really want to notify the suspect or the perp that you're on your way. You kind of want to catch them, right? And so you don't use your siren, you just use your lights. And as you approach the intersection, you would chirp your siren if need be, but you would slow down and make sure that that intersection cleared. You know, it is a big disadvantage for police officers trying to get somewhere, but it is a safe priority type of thing, in my opinion. Big Blue, I'm not sure how much he caught of that, but apparently this guy was driving about 75 miles an hour in a residential area and struck a pedestrian, Jaahnavi Kandula, while she was in the crosswalk and took her life. He was driving well past the speed limit and even admitted that he effed up. What are your thoughts, Blue?
Yeah, man. I when I saw the video, I thought it was pretty crazy how how fast it's going in the middle of town, which happens here in town all the time. I've seen it, but if you're not with your sirens blaring and no lights on, they're not gonna be able to see you.
Well, he had the lights on.
He had the lights on.
Yeah, he had his lights on. Yeah, he had his lights on, but he didn't have his siren on constantly. And so this was a medical situation. There's no reason for your lights not to be, or your siren not to be on constantly.
Yeah.
You know, I one tactic that I had heard and practiced was that you switch your siren, because if you have just one siren and, you know, somebody's hearing it from a far distance away or whatever, they might be able to tune it out. But if you change your siren tone or noise, you know, that'll alert more people around you as well that somebody's coming with an emergency. That wasn't the case here. He was chirping it, which makes zero sense. Kandula was just. Go ahead, Blue.
Was you wearing earbuds or anything like that? Did they say anything like that?
Was she by a what?
Was she wearing earbuds, like the headphones?
Maybe. I mean, there's that possibility, but this is nighttime, right? So those lights would travel, right? You would see a police vehicle coming, you know, and I'm not blaming her or anything like that. I don't know why she was in the crosswalk or whatnot. She may have had, you know, the walk sign, maybe like you're saying, had, you know, earbuds, perhaps looking at her phone. I don't know the situation, but she ended up in the crosswalk. And this officer, because of his speed, he couldn't stop. Now, you know, he admitted that he messed up. I think be charges against him. What do you think, Big Blue?
I think they might get him for criminal negligence, probably.
That's what I'm thinking. And I think it would be the right choice. You know, actions have consequences and mistakes can be made, but when you're traveling at that speed through, you know, an area that only the speed limit's only 25 miles an hour, there's pedestrians in that area. I just don't see how this guy should get away with it. But, you know, and Miss Kandula, may she rest in peace. So right here, it says, I effed up, Dave was heard saying after the deadly incident at the intersection of Dexter North Avenue and Thomas Street, where the speed limit are 25 and 20 miles an hour, respectively. In the footage, a loud roar from Dave's patrol car can be heard as the speedometer shows he accelerated up to 74 miles an hour at one point. Right. So, you know, I would assume that the police, the detective is investigating this traffic accident, internal affairs, would have access to his body cam footage. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think they should be able to get the footage through some requests.
No. Like the department themselves. The department themselves would have access to it. So if his supervisor wanted to go and pull Mr. Was it Dwayne or Dane? His footage just to look at it. They have that access to do so. So we would assume that they would have known about this, his speed very early in this. Well, this is the statement by the chief of police there referencing this car accident.
One second, I'm gonna switch out, okay? I got my computer
right.
back on.
That's fine, man. Let me turn this up. All right.
I'm speaking today to provide additional information regarding last week's officer-involved collision at Dexter and Thomas, and provide clarification about the investigation timeline and process. First and foremost, and from my heart, this collision is a terrible tragedy for all involved, but especially and most importantly, for Ms. Kandula's family. I've reached out to her family and will be working with them as the investigation into this collision proceeds. And among my highest concerns is respecting the family's privacy and their wishes.
I don't hear him speaking. I'm not sure if it's muted or not.
At this point, is the officer involved is Kevin A. Day.
I can hear it. Let me know in the comment section if you can't hear this.
And is certified as an emergency medical technician. At the time of the collision, he was responding as an.
Let me rewind it.
Working with them as the investigation into this collision proceeds. And among my highest concerns is respecting the family's privacy and their wishes concerning the release of information. What I can confirm at this point is the officer involved is Kevin A. Dave. He's been with the department since 2019 and is certified as an emergency medical technician. At the time of the collision, he was responding as an EMT to a Priority 1 emergency call. He did have his emergency lights on and was clearing intersections with his siren. As is protocol, a drug recognition expert responded to the collision scene and found no evidence of impairment in the officer. I also want to be clear about the investigation process. Unlike
Blue, are you able to hear it? I know the folks in the show can in the live chat. So do you think that he sounds like he's kind of covering up? I mean, they were aware of his speed.
I think they're making it sound like it was justified. That's the way it's
like it was an accident, but it wasn't his fault.
Kind of like he got people to move. He was doing the right procedures before the accident happened.
I find this shady as hell, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I find this chief shady as hell. So, and I find the fact that how he's going into it, like this is the procedure that he was doing, what he was acting and how he was acting in that incident was according to policy, and he was using his siren, which is according to policy. And the truth of the fact is that we know now that he wasn't using his siren according to policy. So this guy's already lying.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just the kind of crap that makes people lose trust in law enforcement. You know what I mean? Officers make mistakes, things happen. The other officers that are around have a duty to uphold. It shouldn't be, trying to cover up for somebody or anything like that. Those things should not be allowed.
Well, the thing is, with this day and age, there's so many cameras, mics. I mean, even the vehicles are cameraed and mic that there's a lot more difficulty to be able to cover up if they can. So not there, there's some people out there that say, "Oh, we can probably get away with this," but they can't. Somebody saw it. It'd be more better, honest if they were truthful.
I mean, it kind of almost seemed like, to a certain extent, they were using the family as a reason to not show the rest of the body cam footage that occurred, right? Not to release those type of things. So I think that he was trying to throw this under the rug, honestly. Try to not say much about it. And the thing is, because of what this new officer, or not new, but this other officer is saying about this incident, it's bringing that incident to light.
Yeah.
And I think there needs to be charges. I know he's like on administrative leave but I'm not sure right now if he's been charged yet. If anybody knows that in the live chat, let us know if he's been actually charged. Kevin Dave of Seattle. But let's finish this video out.
The use of force investigation, which under protocols established through the consent decree begins as an administrative investigation. Consent decree begins as an under protocols established through the consent decree begins as an administrative investigation conducted by detectives with extensive training in force analysis. Any serious traffic collision on city streets, whether officer involved or not, is investigated as a potential criminal matter by the Traffic Collision Investigation Squad. We are treating this investigation as we would any fatal collision investigation. The detectives in this squad are highly trained and certified in areas of physics, human factors, and other specialized matters specific to collision reconstruction. Their investigation includes, for example, calculations as to vehicle operation and speed, lines of sight, lighting, roadway, and traffic conditions, witness observations, any camera footage in the area, and any other material factors. As is the case, at the end of any traffic collision investigation, the report will be provided to the King County Prosecutor's Office, who will make any decision regarding charging. On the administrative side, OPA has opened up an investigation as to whether the officer complied with policy and will proceed according to their timelines. I understand there are many questions, but to preserve the integrity of the investigation and respect the family's right to privacy, the amount of information we can release at this time is limited.
See, right there, that's bull crap. They want to limit information because they want to throw this under the bus.
Yeah, I mean, it's too late. They can't. So now it's just PR, public relations, trying to keep everything under control so it won't get too out of hand. So that person, whoever the PR representative, is doing some overtime right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, like this happens all the time in other places. Sometimes they're going for a call and somebody doesn't see the lights or doesn't hear them, loud music, and they clip cars, or they clip, a pedestrian that didn't see him and crosses. And this might happen, but what's making this one sound a lot worse is the hot mic. You know what I mean? The other officer not caring 2 cents for the person's life. That's what's, I think, throwing it out there.
I mean, I think that's what's making this case bigger, or bringing attention to it. But the fact that these guys appear that they're trying to cover this up is really uncomfortable, right? And like in this video, I don't know what this guy's trying to do. I mean, you have multiple views from multiple angles. This guy looks like he's trying to be a YouTube star, instead of just putting out there the facts. And then when it comes down to it, he's like, information is going to be limited out of the privacy of the victims. I mean, I'm pretty sure that conversation went like this, like, hey, we're going to limit the information out of the privacy of your daughter. That's basically what they said to the victim's family. I can almost guarantee it. And then they come around and saying, out of privacy for the victim's family, we're not going to, give out any information about what's going on or how we're investigating this. Just don't like it. Just don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, the video's out there already, I seen part of it. Like I said, I didn't see it all. And then, sorry, my internet was working bad earlier. I had to update my computer. But I'm good now.
Yeah. And we're gonna hear the body cam footage of what the Daniel, I think it's like Daniel Auderer or something like that. He's the other officer who made the comments. But let's finish this press conference or press release that this guy had.
The Seattle Police Department continues to extend its deepest condolences to Ms. Kandula's family and friends. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't find him trustworthy. What do you think, Blue?
I mean, it's damage control right now. That's all he has to do. I mean, he could probably say it more sincere instead of, with a, like his face is just like dead to the world. I'm just gonna sound like this just because I had to be here. If there was a little bit more sincerity in it, it probably would have been more believable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy that did it, he said he effed up. I'm pretty sure he feels bad, man. And I saw him, when I saw the part where he was trying to, give her life support, give her, CPR, try to bring her back, waiting for the first responders. And he's not the one that said all the bad stuff about her. So
Yeah, but here's the thing. Henry Ruggs, he got into a traffic accident. He felt bad about it. He's doing 100 miles an hour. He took the life of someone.
yeah,
He went to jail. He didn't get charged for murder or anything like that because it wasn't pre-planned or anything like that, just like this case isn't going to be.
yeah.
So it's going to be manslaughter. Vehicular manslaughter is probably the charge, and that's what it should be. So here's the body cam footage that everybody's been listening to. Let's read this first. It says the following video was identified in the routine course of business by a department employee who, concerned about the nature of the statements heard on that video, appropriately escalated their concerns through their chain of command to the chief's office, which, following a review of the video, referred to the matter to OPA for investigation into the context in which those statements were made and any policy violation that might be implicated. This is what department policy and the city accountability ordinance require. So basically what this means is the guy went in and turned himself in and said, hey, I said these things. And he wanted to clear up the contents of what he stated that he had recorded. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
All right. I guess I could have pressed play earlier. It paused for reading the statement here. And
Yep. Yep, totally. All right, brother. Well, yep. I'm sure TCIS is. And oh, he's good. He says, well, normally we don't give voluntary statements. And I said, hey, you're going to have to decide if you wanted to give a statement or not. But it does not seem like there's a criminal investigation going on. Otherwise, there would be other. What's that? Yeah. Otherwise, there might be other people arriving, correct? Yeah. I mean, he's going 50. That's not out of control. That's not.
So right there, he's already lying.
Yeah.
And he's telling, I guess, an investigating officer about this. And he's basically saying that, and we'll go into actually who he's talking about or talking to after this, but he's talking about the incident and he's saying that he was only going 50 miles an hour. At this point, everybody's been aware, or it should have been known, that it was well over 50 miles an hour. This kind of feels like a little bit of a cover up, more so than not. What do you think, Blue?
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure he should have asked him how fast he was going. And then after they go back on the cameras, they all have sensors and stuff to tell you exactly how fast it's going.
Yeah, they have GPS on all the vehicles. But his body cam actually captures the speedometer and shows him going up to 74 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So let's finish this.
That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver. Yeah, lights and sirens.
And then he said he's using lights and sirens. He was chirping the siren. So, it's like I said, this all feels like a cover up.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, there's some. Initially, he said she was in a crosswalk. There's a witness that says no, she wasn't. But that witness could be different because I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either. I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield. Then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car.
Yeah, she can easily fly 30, 40 feet like that, man.
Yeah,
easily, especially at 75 miles per hour. I mean, have you ever hit something going that fast? I hit an owl one time, and that thing just feathered up into pieces. I hit
Not
a
just the
hog too.
baseball.
I hit a hog one time too. Man, that thing almost made me lose control. 'Cause I clipped him with my fender, and then I caught him with my rear tire.
Dang. Now I've had my fair share of fender benders and things of that nature, but never at 75 miles an hour. But
Yeah.
that was one thing that I was trying to take notice on the other body cam that we saw earlier that showed the actual incident, and shortly after, it did not appear in that guy's body cam that the windshield was shattered. So I don't think that she did get up on the car. And at 50 miles an hour, even at 50 miles an hour, that doesn't make any sense. You like if they hit the front bumper and then the windshield, they just, at 50 miles an hour, they would have either gone through the window and been inside the car
Right
or
over it.
right over it. So right there, like these are a bunch of lies and a lot of covering up, in my opinion. And I think some people need to get investigated for this.
But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, man. That's why I sent the video the day. I got mad when I heard that, man. That shit was crazy.
Dude, this pissed me off too, man. Like, I don't know if this guy, can go to jail or anything like that for just saying these things. But I don't think he should be an officer.
Yeah. I mean, I think that he should be at least disciplined, because I don't think they can fire him because all the dang, most of them are in unions, but he's got to get reprimanded for at least that, especially since, I mean, I'm pretty sure the boss is not happy with him with all the fire that they're getting from all of us talking about it, because that's not right, man. That was somebody's daughter, somebody's family member. And to say that they're only worth $11,000, that's BS.
And the other thing too that he mentioned in there that was eye-opening was he stated that there doesn't appear to be a criminal investigation on this guy that killed this lady, this young woman. It is beyond me.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to look up what this guy's, I think he was in charge or he was a part of the union, to be honest with you. He was an
I think
officer.
he was a union rep.
Yeah, I think he was a union rep, like the
I'm not
president of the
sure.
union. Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up and then we'll read it. I think it'll probably indicate which one he was. So, a Seattle officer recorded joking about a woman's death, saying she had limited value. In a body cam footage released this week, Seattle police officers heard making callous comments about a young woman who had passed after she was struck in a crosswalk by an officer responding to the call. The footage was recorded on January 20th, the morning after Seattle police officer Kevin Dave hit the 23-year-old Jaahnavi Kandula with his vehicle. He was driving 74 miles an hour in the 25 mile per hour zone, responding to a reported overdose. So, again, responding to an overdose, no reason not to have your sirens on consistently. Like, you're not trying to not surprise people.
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
know he's trying to get the overdose, but he wasn't first responder. That's not, I didn't get. He wasn't the fire department or the fire, like the fire truck. You know what I mean? It wasn't a paramedic. Most of the time when I call 911 for medical emergencies, I only get fire trucks and EMSs here in Texas. I don't know why they had a patrol officer going, and maybe because it's drug related, but still, like for him to have to go that fast, He might not. He might have the Narcan in his car to be able to help that overdose, but I think the fire truck and the
Yeah, but
EMS would be more suitable for that.
like one of the first main rules of being like a first responder is not to create more incidences or accidents or problems or injury. You know, you need to get there safely. You create more of an incident. Like that's law enforcement first responder 101. That's like the first thing they
Yeah.
teach you.
Yeah, I know
Is
some officers do have the Narcan in their on their car. I know they have it in their med kits, but I guess whoever gets there first it helps. But when it's a medical emergency, I thought it was the EMS and fire that try to get there first.
yeah. Well, he was responding. I mean, you know, I'd responded to a fire once, and I'm not a firefighter or wasn't a firefighter, but it was in my area. It was close by, and I was able to get some people out of an apartment. So, you know, officers will respond to certain medical or, you know, first responder related incidences that not necessarily, you know, their primary duty. So
Yeah.
let's continue. This says in the footage, Seattle police officer Daniel Auderer, I hope I pronounced that right, who is the vice president of the Seattle Police Officers Guild, is heard speaking to someone on the phone. Only Auderer's side of the conversation can be heard. He is reportedly speaking to Mike Solon, president of the guild. So he's having a conversation with basically the president of their union. They call it a guild out there, known as SPOG. Auderer talks about the crash, saying it doesn't seem like there's a criminal investigation going on. Auderer, a drug recognition evaluator who works on SPD's DUI, was part of the post-incident process of the crash, screening day for impairment. So he was out there. He saw, you know, the severity of the incident, you know, firsthand, and, you know, was on scene. And he's going 50. It's not out of control, not reckless. And obviously that's not true. A report by SPD's Traffic Collision Investigation Squad later found out that they had been traveling at peak speed of 74 miles an hour in a 25 mile per hour zone. And he was operating a Ford SUV. So yeah, I'm not seeing her getting stuck on a windshield and then flying off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At 75, man, she's gonna fortunately like bounce off or flip right over it. Because it would have been in the video that she was stuck in the windshield if she would have gone to the windshield.
Well, she wasn't even thrown 40 feet, man. Watch this. It says investigators concluded that Dave struck Kandula with his Ford SUV at approximately 63 miles per hour, and Kandula was thrown approximately 138 feet.
Dang. Told you, man, it's a force. I mean, I know I've hit in like javelinas and I've seen them fly, man, and I hit it going like 75. When I went under my back tire, man, it made my truck shake when I'm going 75. That was a weird feeling.
So this is according to Auderer's reportedly what he was trying to say that was going on. It states here NPR's attempts to reach Auderer were not successful. NPR is where this this article is from. But according to a report by Jason Rantz, a conservative Seattle host with KTTH, Auderer filed an account on his own to the Office of the Police Accountability once he learned his comments had been recorded by the body cam. Kind of like what I said earlier. He's the one that turned himself in. According to KTTH, the report on Auderer's account during the call, Solon, the president, stated something to the effect that was unfortunate that this would turn into lawyers arguing the value of human life. The SPOG did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So he said that they were mocking lawyers, and that the person that he was talking on the phone said that this is going to turn into lawyers arguing for the value of human life. And he started laughing and basically said $11,000. Do you buy this?
Nah. No,
Neither do I.
any reasonable person. I've seen cases where people accidentally get, unalived by a police incident. I think I've seen $1 million payouts. Even here in
Yeah.
San Antonio, there was one where I think there was a police chase and there was a shootout, and then they ended up picking up a pedestrian and something like that. And I think the family got like $1 million after they sued the city, but they do have to sue them.
Well, I'm pretty sure a bunch of lawyers have contacted them already.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And the sad part about it is they lost their precious daughter, man. 26.
Yeah.
That's young, man.
Yeah. So this says Auderer reportedly told the Office of the Police Accountability that his comments were made to Mock City lawyers, imitating what a lawyer tasked with negotiating the case would be saying, and being sarcastic to express that they shouldn't be coming up with crazy arguments to minimize the payment. They do understand that if citizen were to hear it, that they would rightfully believe it was being insensitive to the loss of human life. Auderer told the office, according to KTTH, I also understand that if heard, it could diminish the trust in the Seattle Police Department. It's already happening, and make all of our jobs more difficult. With all that being said, the comment was made with malice or hatred heart. It was not made with malice or a hatred or hard heart. It was quite the opposite. Man, I don't buy that. He's basically saying he's turning it around, saying that he wasn't being malice. He was being empathetic to the family. That's bull crap. It's 100% bull crap.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
I get people joke around, people say stuff, but when somebody's life gets lost, you're like, man, maybe it takes somebody with maybe a little bit more, like, I guess, manners not to joke about somebody's life like that. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, especially, everybody's in they're mic'd and camered up. I mean, but I know there's a few incidents that they can turn their mics off. Maybe he thought he turned his mic off. I don't know.
Oh, he realized real fast that he had it on when he was reaching for it. Him doing that, and as quickly as he was doing it too. I think he knew, damn, I'm busted.
Yeah.
And I think he is. I mean, like I said, is this going to be something that will eventually get him fired? Probably not. I anticipate, because like you mentioned, this is a union thing. Now, the officer that was involved in the car accident that took Miss Kandula's life, he should no longer be an officer. He should actually be in jail, in my opinion. Now, this officer that was just making the statements, in my opinion, that's not the kind of officer that you want out there, representing the city, being in charge of your safety and protection, and being at your service as a citizen. Those are not the type of folks that you want, right? So should he probably not be an officer? Maybe, I don't know, but will he? Probably not. I mean, probably so. I don't think they're going to take his job over it, but I think there's probably going to be some sort of suspension that's going to come out of it. And probably mental evaluation and therapy and a whole sort of stuff that's going to go on with him. But it's a crazy situation. We're going to keep on this case and see if justice is served to Miss Kandula. I want to see if the Seattle Police Department do the right thing and end up charging Officer Dave, who took her life. What do you think, Blue?
It is an accident. He wasn't under the influence, because this is what they're gonna have to go through, because he's a union. He wasn't under the influence. He didn't have his lights on. He was
the
tripping,
union,
even though.
Well, hold on, Blue. But the union only protects the officer from losing their job. The union does not protect the officer from criminal offenses.
But was it criminal? Did he do it intentional? Is what they're gonna have to have a jury try.
Well, it doesn't have to be intentional. I mean, there's a lot of people who get charged with vehicular manslaughter that weren't intending on the life of somebody, but their actions in effect effectively took the life of someone.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and was he like in the videos where was he? Did he have any remorse? All that stuff's not to take into effect. I think it's gonna be more like I don't think they'll give him jail time. I think it's gonna be more like suspension, or maybe take him off the force, and how they put you on leave for so many years.
no, I think this guy needs to go to jail, my man. And I understand that whole 9 yards. Like, was he doing it with malice? Did he do it with intent? No, but that's why the crime, negligent vehicular manslaughter by being neglectful is a crime. And if these officers aren't above, and so if they're operating a vehicle that in a manner that they shouldn't be operating it in, doing 74, 75 miles an hour in a 25 mile per hour zone is reckless. It's reckless. And there is no policy or any law that's going to justify that. There shouldn't be any law enforcement, agency that should justify that, try to justify that fact. Now, why they might be trying to cover it up probably has nothing to do with that officer and everything to do with a possible lawsuit.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the motivation of covering it up comes from in this situation. And I think that they probably would have gone away with it had it not been brought to the spotlight, because it's getting some pretty big, news about it.
Oh yeah, man. It's hard. It's hard. Those comments he made were not just, they were heartless. They were made by somebody who has no care for human life.
Right. Well, there's a difference. That's not the same guy. The guy that made the comments.
No. The guy that made the comments, that's what they are. The guy that caused the accident, he did sound like he was apologetic, but he was also like, man, I effed up.
See, I see that as him being more sorry about his career, about his life. It didn't sound like, he was like, I feel bad for this, mother, father, family member, we need to contact next kin. It was just like, I effed up. It's about me. I don't like that.
I see why Kohberger's on the screen. Yes, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, we're about to talk about Kohberger here in a second. So for me, I don't see where there's no justification for this. I think they're trying to avoid a lawsuit, and I think that they probably would have gone away with it. Fortunately, they're not. And I think that because of the attention that this case is now getting, there's no way that they're gonna do this. They're not gonna be able to sweep this under the rug. There's too much attention on it now.
Yeah, I think for what they're trying to do is damage control for the officer that said, she was only worth $11,000 for her life. That's the main reason why they're downplaying it. I mean, I'm pretty sure their sincerity is probably true to the parents, man. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of families, a lot of officers that have families, and they feel the same way. One of them is the one that brought the report up to the higher rankings, right? So they can at least get this guy reprimanded for what he said, because
he self-reported. He went and said that he's
reported. I read somewhere that somebody else turned it in. They reviewed it.
No, it was him. Oh. He self-reported. He knew he screwed up and he wanted to get ahead of it, right? Gotcha. And I think Seattle, they're the one. They put it out on their own YouTube. They're the ones that put it out there for the world to see. And that was what brought attention, because they heard how callous these words were. And they're like, what is he talking about? What case is he talking about? And then you find out it's an officer involved, a vehicle accident that resulted in a fatality. And then you start to find out that there's some lying going on, and you're seeing the chief come out saying, hey, we want to give out limited information because, the family wants to keep this secret. And it's just like, it seemed like they were trying to, sweep this under the rug, but then they put out this video of what this guy says, and all hell breaks loose on their department. Rightfully so. If this guy was not going to be charged, right? I'm talking about Officer Dave, who was the officer that was involved in the accident that took Miss Kandula's life.
I didn't see the video 100%. Did they show him even break?
Yeah, I think so, but
or jerk the wheel or anything like that?
No, he didn't. And that's weird too, because it appeared that he just kind of went straight. Like, I don't know how Seattle does their things, right? But in most departments that I'm aware of, you're taking a driving course. And even this officer talks about it, in his, when he says that the guy's going 50 and that's not, too crazy for a trained, driver. Well, there's a maneuver that you're supposed to do when something pops out in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's one of the first things they teach you. And it's, you got to turn the wheel very quickly and turn it back. You can't use the brakes because then you'll end up spinning out. And ask me how I know. And, those type of things, you get trained like that in the academy. That way you can practice it in the real world, right? I had a situation one time where I was responding to an officer had a traffic stop and wasn't responding to the radio. So I went to go check on his status, and I could see him in the distance. I could see his vehicle. I was coming to the highway, and I could see him probably about 3 miles up, and it was at night, so I can see his lights flashing. And, I'm calling him out. Hey, man, you're all right. You're all right. He's not responding. And then out of nowhere, man, I'm doing probably about 80. We're on the highway, so the speed limit is like 65, 75, somewhere around there. So I'm doing 80, and this deer pops out right in front of me. And when I was doing my academy course, I slid out. What they did was they had you had to drive down this straight lane that was marked with cones on either side, and then it teed off, and then it went straight again. But that T was like a 90-degree turn. It was like 2 90-degree turns. Boom, boom. And, the instructor would stand probably about maybe 40, 50 feet from that intersection, which isn't a lot, when you're traveling about 60 miles an hour. And at that point, when you're about to approach the instructor, he puts out one hand. You don't know which hand it is. If he pulls his up hand, you got to make the left turn. Pull up the right hand, you got to make the right turn. If he does both arms, then you get your choice. But in that situation, you got to think quick, like super fast, right? Yeah. And I tried to guess what he was going to do. And he throwing right, he been throwing right. So I was like, you know what? This guy's going to get me on the left. So I gun it. Boom. I'm going past the cones, hit up about 65 miles an hour. And then I see him, and I start turning to the left, and he throws up right. But I already had maneuvered the steering wheel slightly to the left. And so when I kicked it to the right, my rear end slid out. And then I hit the brakes. And when I hit the brakes, I just spun. Took out I don't know how many cones. I think I ended up getting the award for most cones knocked out at the end of the day because of that one incident, right? And so
you should have tapped the brakes just for a second and then gunned it again.
Dude, well,
that's how I just remember I used to love to drift, and I used to love to make cars purposely lose control.
Yeah. So, well, I went sideways for about 80 feet, maybe 80 yards. I don't know. But Fast forward to that time when the deer jumped out in front of me. Boom, hit the maneuver, hit it to the right, the opposite direction that the deer's coming from, and get into the right lane. Boom, hit it to the left, get back in. There was an officer behind me, and they got on the mic and they're like, "Hey, Daniel, do you need to change your pants after this call? Because that shit was close, dude. Like, you have no idea." I was like, "Nah, I'm wearing dark pants. I'm good." So we, which is all a joke, y'all. It's all a joke. But ended up going to the call, and the officer, his radio was messed up for something, and he wasn't able to break. He was trying to, but he wasn't able to get through to dispatch. But everything was okay. It was code 4, and left the scene. So, or the traffic stop. But in this situation here, in this case with the Seattle officer, I didn't see him do that maneuver, try to avoid, something that gets in your roadway. It appears that all he did was slam on the brakes and go straight.
Yeah, that speed, it's gonna take you. And depending on what kind of road it surface, it's gonna take you at least a good 60 feet, 100 feet before you even stop going that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there's one thing that's why I'm like, I'm not sure they'll, charge, and maybe they will. A friend of mine's brother was years ago was driving home from work one night, and he was going down San Zamora, and he was going the speed limit, and this you know how there's a lot of drug users on the side of the road there.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, this one was a drug user that was out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and darted across the road in front of him, going like 40. I mean, he hit him, and he clipped the windshield. The guy flipped over the windshield, and he stopped there, render aided, and he called the police, and the guy passed away. No charges because he wasn't under the influence. He rendered aid, and it was a witness saying, "Yeah, the guy just out of nowhere ran across the street."
Yeah, those are unfortunate, man, and I feel bad for your guy there. And that can mess with your mental health.
Yeah, man. He said he don't. His brother said he don't. He for a long time he wouldn't drive on the right side of the road. He stayed in the middle lane because he was afraid somebody would dart across the street. I mean,
yeah,
that's happened to me before a couple of times. When I'm going down Culebra here, it's 45, and right by the bridge there used to be a big homeless camp, and there was this one homeless guy. He was always drunk when he was asking for money, and I was going like maybe 50 because I was trying to catch a light, and it's 45. And he decides to dart across the road in front of me, and I was in my Tundra, and he decided to stand in the middle of the lane and like put his arms next to himself, thinking I'm not gonna hit him when he's in the middle of my lane. So luckily there was nobody next to me, man. I probably missed him by like a foot.
Dang.
Yeah,
Dang.
I was like, man. So you get people dart in front of you, but I don't think she was intoxicated, none of that stuff. I mean, but I'm pretty sure that's one thing his defense lawyers will look at too.
I mean, even if she was so what? She was in the crosswalk.
Yeah, she was in the crosswalk.
If she had the walking sign, she was the pedestrian. She has the right of way, even to an emergency vehicle. Now, I say that to a certain extent, right? The pedestrian is seeing that an officer is coming. Obviously, they need to yield the right of way to the car, the officer, right? But if the officer's approach as a person already in the intersection, the officer has to be able to stop and clear that intersection safely.
Yeah. When it comes to intersections, I always see the police slow down and make sure people stop, man, because there's people that don't stop and they'll clip them. I mean, I've seen it time and time again. I mean, I remember there was this one incident probably 2 or 3 years ago, where the officer was going to a call, and he was coming up to a road like a T. So there was a house in the corner, and he was going like, I don't know, maybe I think he said he was going to go on 55. He was trying to get to like I think an armed robbery call. The guy that was coming out of the subdivision got like the green light, but didn't even pay attention that the officer was coming. So and boom, clipped him and T-boned him. He T-boned him right into a house, man. And the officer's vehicle like went through like the living room and one of the bedrooms, and like destroyed the house right in the corner. So yeah, sometimes you think they see you and they don't, especially in the nighttime.
Yeah, man. I had a situation like that one time, where it almost happened. I almost got T-boned. The scariest shit that's ever happened to me. And I've dealt with a bunch of stuff. But in this particular day, I got a phone call, and apparently DEA was tracking some guy who had a couple of those of cocaine or whatnot. And they had some intel that he was in a certain neighborhood and was traveling through town. And I was basically told, hey, I need you to get to this part of town. You're looking for a black SUV. I can't remember the make and model, and a specific license plate. Create probable cause, knock it down, and find the drugs in the car or in the SUV. Basically was what I was told. So I'm hauling tail to get onto that side of town because I was a little bit far away. And I ended up coming across this vehicle on a main street where this vehicle came to a stop sign and then turned onto this main drag right in front of me without stopping at the stop sign. So I had the probable cause to pull this dude over. So I light him up and he takes off. And I call out, 1080 vehicle, the whole 9 yards, right? And we had a certain policy that you weren't allowed to pursuit unless it was like a class B or above, right? And just running a stop sign is a class C misdemeanor. So my supervisor gets on the radio and asks, what is the offense? And I said the probable cause is running a stop sign, but I've been told that they have narcotics in the car. So he approves the vehicle chase, and we go straight, and then we turn a corner, and we're going to go to Mexico. I already know that. And there's one section that we're going to go through, and I got tunnel vision. Like, I was just trying to keep up with this vehicle. I was just watching it, and he ran red, and I ran a red right behind him. And when I looked to my right, there was a freaking truck right there, dude. And fortunately, like, he pressed the brakes enough and now fast enough that he missed me by inches. But yeah, I mean, that was probably the one thing that it scared the crap out of me. Like, I was on this dude's bumper, right? After that incident, I was probably about 2 cars behind him, like freaking out, dude, and just kind of like looking everywhere because, it wasn't on my side, the passenger side, but man, that would have been a hard one, to be honest with you. I was going pretty quick, and that would have been my fault. It would have been 100% my fault. As the officer in that situation, I was supposed to have stopped or slowed down to clear it, and I didn't. You know what I mean?
I'm pretty sure it's that there is some, I would say, maybe negligence in that case, right? He failure to see the pedestrian, or failure to slow down at an intersection, because if it's a crosswalk, there's got to be an intersection. So I think that's where he's saying I effed up because he didn't slow down at the intersection.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't do that. He was operating at speeds that were probably against, policy. And, if he's going above what policy says and he violated those things and he says that he saw her in the crosswalk, those aren't good things. Those aren't going to point in his favor. Yeah. But we'll see how that case goes. Let's talk about Kohberger. Actually, first and foremost, let's watch part of this video. This is a interview with Brian Enton and Steve Goncalves, Kaylee Goncalves' dad. Let's listen to this.
Our take is that cameras the community needs to determine who this individual is. You cannot ask for the community to do the death penalty without their vision, without their support.
So this is before today's hearing, right? A little bit of backstory. There was a hearing today for Bryan Kohberger, and in that hearing, it was referencing cameras in the courtroom. The prosecution doesn't want them because they're afraid that the witnesses that are going to be testifying against Bryan Kohberger may not feel confident or be scared to testify in court, which is an issue. If Dylan or Bethany or even Jack DeCore chooses not to testify or whatnot, or I think they'd be subpoenaed and forced to, but it's not a good look, to force somebody who's a victim like this to get up on the stand. It would be important for the case, you know what I mean? But you would hope they would do it. I don't think it'd be a good look on the court side to find a surviving victim in contempt of court and put them in jail. You know what I'm saying? It's not a good look. And this interview here took place before that court that happened earlier today. Now, the defense team wants the cameras out because they think that all of this publicity and media will not give Kohberger a fair trial. First, I want to ask you, Blue, do you think that cameras in the courtroom would be an unfair advantage to Kohberger? What are your thoughts on that?
No, I don't think it would make an unfair advantage because we already know a lot about the case, and the people that are going to be, the jury are going to hear all this stuff anyways.
Yeah,
they're going to be told more than what we know.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have first, I guess what do you call it? They're going to be the first ones to hear every detail, how it gets broken down. So it doesn't matter if there's cameras there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, I understand the cameras maybe now in these preliminary hearings or these pre-trial hearings. I'm sorry, but once the court comes and once they have a jury selected and they're registered and they're not allowed to hear anything, I don't understand why there couldn't be, camera out there, putting this information out there. I mean, the people have a right to know. And so I don't like it. I get it, from the prosecution standpoint and the witness stuff, maybe perhaps come to an agreement where when the witnesses go on the stand, maybe not have the cameras present at that time.
Yeah. Well, isn't there where the witnesses can do their interview like in a separate room, just via what do you call it, via Zoom or something? I know I've seen that in other cases where they don't want to be around the victim, they're not the victim. They don't want to be around the accused. Mm-hmm. That they can choose to be like in a separate room and still be a witness.
Yeah. And here's the thing. There's a lot of question in this case. There's a lot of question about law enforcement and their practices and what they've done. There's a lot of question about, could Bryan Kohberger have done it? Was there an accomplice? Was there somebody else? Was there not somebody else? And without the information, those questions are going to remain from the public. And even if Kohberger is found guilty, without the, everybody knowing what the evidence was against him and what he did and how he did it, and for them to make their own opinion based off of that and the evidence that's out there, you have to have cameras in there. You have to have, information coming out about what's going on. because without that transparency, without knowing that this is the guy, people are going to start losing faith in the judicial system. They're going to lose faith in the the courtroom. They're already losing faith with police officers. That it's going to go to shit. Excuse my language, but that's what it's going to happen. I think that they've been too quiet about these things and have allowed a bunch of things to run rampant, whether they're true or false. A lot of people don't even know what's true or false anymore because of all this stuff that's been out there. And it's put a lot of question into the case and into law enforcement, put question into the judicial system and the court too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think cameras should be in there. I mean, maybe like some people are saying for witness testimony, they probably don't have to be recorded. I mean, maybe they take a break during that time, but I don't know what they can agree on. But I think some of the other stuff is important. Like today I was reading that they, I guess, extended from not demolishing the house. Again, they're holding off. It's up to the university because both of the prosecution and the defense had said, "Hey, you can hold off to demolish it. We might need it, but it's y'all's decision." Because I was reading that some students believe that it should get demolished because they're afraid to go to that side of town because it brings back bad memories. Which I understand that part, but then other students agree that, hey, maybe the jury wants to go through there to be able to get a live feel of what the house was like. So maybe it should stay up so they give more of a fair trial, or more of an understanding of who could have heard something, who could have done this.
Yeah, I've talked to some boots on the ground content creators that have been in Moscow, that have been outside of that house, and I've talked to a couple of them, and some of the things that they say is, the house is a 3-story house, but it's very compact. It's a lot smaller than you would think, and I think that would be important for the jury to see. How compact, how small, how does noise travel? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that'd be best for them not to tear it down, but we'll see. I was watching that report today. It came out. I think I sent it to you.
Yeah. And let's watch this and then we'll give our 2 cents on it.
Report with that the understanding of all the aspects of the case. It's more than just the jury members. It's the community. It's a message for everybody to understand. In Idaho, this is how we work. We're not the same as Chicago. We're not the same as Miami and New York and LA. This is how Idaho perceives a major incident, and this is how we react to it. And we have the resources to do that. So I don't know what removing the cameras really provides other than a gap. And we've had a gag order in this case, and that didn't work out well. You hear about other people who've been placed under a gag order. It doesn't seem that the Constitution works well with this constitutional time of when it's okay to speak about, I don't know, I don't want to say the truth, but I want to say when people are going to speak about a case and let the audience decide what the truth is. A gag order is an old version of controlling the narrative. You can't control it anymore with social media, TikToks, and like I've said before, it's not NBC, ABC, and these 3 medias that control this narrative. The whole world sees everything. So pretending like you can control, and what are you trying to control? Are we just displaying truth in action? To me, the courtroom is truth in action. So why do we hide that?
Were you surprised, Steve, to see the prosecution also now say that they don't want cameras?
I want to say yes, but I'm shocked at how many times the prosecution and the defendant are on the same page. And there's some certain things that they have in common, and they rise up. They rise up over and over and over. I won't say them now, but if they keep rising up over my daughter's truth and justice, then I will just call them out on those commonalities that they have. And I mean, I just want a camera. I just want the truth. I just want everyone to see what's going on. That makes me radical. Okay.
So, Blue, what do you think that do you think that the opinions of the victim's family weigh more than the prosecution in the state? What are your thoughts on there? Like, should the judge take into account the victim's opinions, the families of the victims' opinions on whether or not there should be cameras or not?
I think so too, because sometimes some of them might be too distraught or emotional to be in the courtroom. They don't want to be around that setting. So if they're able to maybe watch it at home, in the comfort of their family members that can't go with them, I think that might be a good solution for them. Because
that and if there are parts that are too horrendous for them to go through, you know what I mean? They don't want to see that. They can simply turn off the camera, or turn off the television, change the channel for a few minutes and then go back when, it's not so severe, or they feel that they can, watch certain things. Because I'm pretty sure there's going to be some things that the family members, it's going to be hard for them to see. And, in person, in court, you don't have that luxury of just turning it off. You know what I mean? You're kind of in the middle there. You can get up and walk out. There's no guarantee. If you're a victim's family member, I'm sure they would let you back in, but there is no guarantee that you would be put back in. And, I think that the opinions of the families should hold some weight here.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, they are the ones that lost their loved ones. They're the ones that are looking for justice.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like I said, Bryan, like we always say, Bryan is still, innocent until proven guilty. But if the evidence points to him and they want to see the justice, but they don't want to be there in person, then I think it'd be okay for the cameras. It'd be better.
Yeah.
But
that
being said, man, I was gonna say I gotta jump off here in a few minutes, guys. So, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Blue, for being on. I'm gonna finish this video here, and then I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about what my thoughts are on the Kohberger case. Thank you, Blue, for being on.
Have a good night, guys. Talk to you later then.
Shannon, does it matter what the families think in the eyes of the court? I mean, I've seen the filings from the prosecution, defense, the media. Does the family have a say when it comes to the cameras?
Well, ultimately, I can't speak for the prosecution in this case or the defense in any way. As an experience as a prosecutor, as a former prosecutor, and we always listen to the victims. A lot of times, the victims have an opportunity to speak to us about resolutions, how the case might be resolved. Certain things that go on during the case, we want them involved in along those lines. And so, I think that's part of the family putting out the statement today, was to voice their opinion about what they thought about having cameras in the courtroom, and hoping that people were listening to what they were saying. So I can't speak to the prosecution or the defense and what they might be thinking. So,
in your role representing the families, does the prosecution come to you with situations like this and say, what does the family think about cameras?
Well, we were always hopeful. But I think that's the reason we put out the statement today.
When Steve shook his head no, yeah, they don't. They should. I think that it's important to take into consideration the victims' families, what their wishes and their thoughts are, if they want cameras or not. I'm not saying it should be the end all be all. The victims' rights come before anything else, but or the right of due process, but. In this situation, isn't there a rule in Idaho already that I think it's like Idaho Rule 45 that allows cameras in the courtroom? If that's a common practice that's going on, I don't understand why you change it just because of this man and him you know, feeling that people are making fun of his freaking fly or this or that when, you know, he's been accused of some horrific stuff himself.
I think if we had been approached or asked in some way about that, at least the Goncalves family, I'm not sure they contacted. I don't know. I can't speak to see if they've contacted any of the other families. I don't think they contacted the Kernodle family or the Mogens about the courtroom cameras in the courtroom, but they did not contact the Goncalves family through me to ask us what our opinion was. And the family stressed to me that they thought it was an important thing that the world know and people know what they thought about it, and that they thought it was important that cameras be in the courtroom. And so that's why the statement was put out by the family, to let people know what their thoughts were.
In the statement, Steve, it says that the case is surrounded by secrecy. Can you elaborate on that a little more? Like what you guys meant by that?
I've talked with multiple family members, and I want to be respectful for everybody's viewpoint. And there is some fear that the cameras will record things that are gross. You know, they're not ready to have their friends and family members come to them and say, "Hey, did you hear about this or that?" And understand that, I really do. So they come to me, and I reflect what they're saying, I absorb it, and then I also tell them from a legal perspective, from my lawyer counsel, it's hard to really argue what a camera is going to be in a courtroom negatively. You know, like, we're here asking for somebody in the community to judge this individual. So let's just hang it out there. Let's show every aspect and every fact that I feel is a fact. The community should agree that that is a fact, whether it's DNA or whatever it is. So, but I still respect all these family members and their own individual processing of their preparedness for what's about to happen. And it's terrible. You really cannot prepare yourself to understand that the legal system is going to drag all of us through the mud. And that's the only way you can get to the truth. So if I'm going to go through the mud, I'd rather have all the witnesses that I can possibly have than to create a narrow bubble there in Latau County in Moscow and say that, you know, I want to have the support of everyone, that the justice was put in place and the evidence was that clear.
I'm thinking about, you know, them wanting to tear the house down, the university, and sort of the fight over that. And now not wanting cameras, and the prosecution also not wanting cameras. And they gave their legal arguments, which, you know, I guess makes sense in one way, you know, that witnesses might be scared to testify with cameras rolling, especially like emotional witnesses. But I'm also wondering, like, do you think any of this is connected? Like, without cameras, the story sort of goes away. The town doesn't look as bad. Without the house, you know, you don't have to think about it every day. The school can go back to normal. Like, do you think it's all connected, or do you think it really is just sort of legal? Like, both sides just don't want the cameras for the legal reasons?
100%. The reason I'm talking to you right here, right now, is because there is capital business decisions being made on top of justice systems. So no, there is no way to pretend like these all equal and they all equate to the same motivation. Somebody's going to lose, and it isn't going to be my daughter. I will sit here. I will speak to every single microphone, every single camera before I go to court and after I go to court. If you force me to do it, I'd rather the courtroom speak for itself than me. I don't want to speak. I'm actually quite a private man. But if you force me to protect my daughter, then I will speak at every moment that I have to do just that and protect her. And that's what we're doing today. We're protecting the truth. We're protecting where the truth is going to go. The truth needs to be in that courtroom, and a camera will never, ever hide the truth. So why remove it? Why do you remove a camera? Well, maybe it'll protect you from, like me, I misspoke. I might say something wrong, but I'm a father. I can deal with that. The repercussions of that is fine. But some people seem to be scared of the repercussion of their mistake. And I say, just embrace it and let the community decide what the truth is. We either got to
embrace their mistake. Do you think he's talking about something specific? Was there a mistake made that he's aware of? It's an interesting statement. Now, I'm not trying to pick apart his words or any of those type of things, but that kind of caught me off guard. Or not caught me off guard, but like kind of stuck out to me. Interesting. But I feel for Steve. Like, as a father, if something like that ever happened, I mean, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't do this. I probably couldn't speak in front of people about it, in the manner that he is. And, it would be difficult. And, so I commend him. He's a very strong man. And you can hear it in his voice that he's hurting, obviously. And he's right. He shouldn't be the one that has to come out and talk and let the public know that, anything about this case. That should be the courts. That should be the law enforcement. I understand that there's some sort of sense of secrecy behind certain things, but usually that's up to the point of arrest, because the defendant's going to get, the discovery anyways. Now, I know that not all of the information that's going to come out, before trial, but usually a lot of it does. And it doesn't hinder the cases. I think that even in the Alex Murdaugh case, and I know that one's going through some crazy stuff because of some tampering that may have happened. But in that case, hold on, where was I going with that? Oh, man, it slipped my mind. Well, anyways, and you had, the cameras in that courtroom and things like that, and it didn't affect Murdaugh in the wrong way, So, and I also understand, the family's feelings about not being asked, did you hear this? Did you, this is shown, this, sent pictures or anything like that. I get it 100%. And it's a tough decision. But I think that, Steve understands that it's a tough choice, and that, so that there is no question and that everybody's aware of whether justice was done properly or not, that a camera should be allowed. And I agree with him.
Guy, we don't. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. And just a few more questions. Since Kohberger waived the speedy trial, I think we all thought maybe the trial was going to be really soon, and now it could be far away. I mean, how are you dealing with that? Are you still processing that? I mean, I feel for you guys having to continue to live in this weird legal limbo.
You give up all your notions of normal when something like this happens, and you hope that your community feels for you and embraces you, hugs you, and says, we're going to take care of this. You hope that your community says, we're here for you and we're going to make this right. And that's why I'm there, for them to have the vision and the cameras, and everybody needs to be in that room, because they're the ones that are wrapping their arms around me, Chrissy, and our children. They're saying, we're going to do, this is an outsider. He came here to hunt these dumb hillbillies and teach us about what he said was cloud computing and forensic. He thought he could come here and hunt dumb hillbillies, and he could get away with this. And now that we have him caught, we need to be able to hold him accountable, and the community needs to be a part of that. And taking cameras out of there makes it a double standard. You can't say that they're accountable, yet they're not a part of it.
Steve says something that he feels strongly. They feel strongly. I've talked to Steve's wife before, Christy. We've done a phone interview. They feel strongly about the situation, about the suspect in custody, and they think that the law enforcement got it right. And in this scenario, he just said something about Kohberger really thinking that he was going to come out here to a rural area and, take out some dumb hillbillies because they're from the rural area. And, in the probable cause affidavit, I saw that Bryan Kohberger had put on his I believe it's his second attempt to become an intern police officer. In his essay, he wrote that he wanted to assist rural agencies with how to better collect and analyze technological data. I think that's how it's worded. And to me, that sounded like a dig as well. I thought that that meant like, I'm going to come help these backwoods police officers that don't know anything about collecting technological forensic data. I'm going to show them how to collect it and analyze it. Like, I thought it was a dig. I wonder what he knows that maybe he feels that that may have been some sort of, not motive, but a piece to that puzzle as well.
How are you? I mean, how are you guys doing? Like, I mean, the last time I saw you in court, Olivia was there with your granddaughter. I mean, how are they doing? I'm sure in some ways, like, life has to go on. You have some positive things happening too with your granddaughter. Like how's everybody doing?
In some ways, we're in a pause of a movie. Like, you can just go forward, but you just got to keep rewinding because you don't know what you missed and all these facts. So it's no way to live. It's no way to be. And we try to treat our children different than what we're going through. It's my responsibility to hold this individual accountable for what he's done to my family. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm talking. That's why this is happening right here, right now. It's not because I care about anything other than justice. And that's why I'm pushing for cameras. That's why I'm pushing for this, because I'm a biased man. I'm a biased father. So let everybody have a part in this. And then it's a lot easier for us to have a conviction that we all embrace. And then the rest of me and my family don't have to hear the haunting effects of messages saying that, if there would have been cameras in that courtroom, it would have been a different outcome. If we would have had truth and transparency in this case, if it wasn't all about business, then there would have been a different outcome. So you only have one moment to make a statement, and that's the moment we're in right now and why we're doing this. Shannon told me we had a couple of interviews. I don't keep track of this. He keeps track of this for me because there is a gap. It's a gap in leadership, and the leadership, I want them to hold everyone accountable and do all this. And when they don't, our phones are being right. People are calling us because somebody else isn't picking up the phone. That's really why we get involved. I don't want to be the guy talking to you, to be honest.
So when he says that, he wants everybody held accountable and stuff, I don't think he's meaning that he thinks that there's more people involved in this case outside of Kohberger. I've talked to Christy, and I think I've had a little bit of an insight of what that means. I think that means that, there was some stuff that was done in this investigation that wasn't done to their, for instance, apparently there was a security camera that was in the area where Kohberger's vehicle or the white Elantra could have been possibly have seen. And from what I understand is those owners of that camera had to go to, and this was owners of a business, had to go to the Goncalves family themselves and say that they had, footage, and they think they may have caught something, and, a car passing that's similar, and that it's about to be deleted because it's been so long, and that law enforcement, hasn't been out there to pick it up. And from what I understand is they rose some hell out there, and finally officers were able to go and get that done before it expired or was rolled over. So, I think that's what he's referring to. He's referring to some of the actions of law enforcement, the fact that they're being so secret. In a lot of cases where there's not that much secrecy, there's less conspiracy because, people analyze the information and make their logical opinion on it. And when there's just so much secrecy, like in this case, it just makes the misinformation run rampant.
Yeah, you sort of become like the spokesperson, though. I mean, it's, like you said, it seems like if you don't hold people accountable, it's like in life, things slip away or whatever.
For me, Kaylee would have expected me to be her father, not 1%, not 10, not 50% of the time. Like I handed off to a judge and a prosecutor to be the father. I'm going to be her father 100% of the time. And when I tell whoever did this, you picked the wrong family, it has to be backed by action. And I'm that action. I'm that person saying, I'm going to be the voice that doesn't go away, even if both sides want that voice to go away.
Makes sense. Is there anything else, Shannon, you think is important that we didn't touch on with the statement, or just that you want to get out there going into the hearing tomorrow?
No, I mean, there's a lot of procedural things that are going on in the next couple of weeks. I think the family will be there either by Zoom or in person. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. It's not worth it to really get them in there for 10 or 15 minutes to, like Steve said, for a whole day's worth of stuff. So, but we are, we're looking forward to some of the stuff coming up, the scheduling order, picking new trial dates, the alibi issue, the indictment stuff, all decisions on those things. The court has a lot of stuff in front of him that it has to make some decisions on. We're looking forward to those things. The cameras in the courtroom tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be some oral argument on that tomorrow. I think we'll all be there by Zoom. I'll be there by Zoom. And, it's like Steve said, they become the spokespersons for the families sometimes because that's the job that they've taken on and they're willing to do it. And, when we do put out statements, we always kind of check in with the families to see if that's something that they're in line with, and we can attach their name to it. So they can get their voice out there and present their views. And so, we thought it was important that everyone knew what the positions of some of the family members of the Kernodle family and the Goncalves family felt about cameras in the courtroom. And that was the reason for the statement today.
Yeah, and that's the end of this interview here. I saw in the live chat that some folks were saying that, this is therapy for Steve. I think that's probably accurate to a certain extent. It could be. I'm not a therapist or anything like that, but it could be, but I think he wants justice as well, and he wants to make sure that Kaylee's justice is heard and seen. And that can only happen with the cameras there. So that way there's no question, no concerns, there's no doubt, because the court of public opinion kind of does matter sometimes. And I just feel bad for this family and for all the families and everybody that's been affected by this case. It's really horrendous. But we're about 38 minutes past our show time. Went a little bit longer than normal. I want to say thank you to all our members and mods and everybody that was in the live chat, everybody that participated in the show. I appreciate you guys. If you're watching this on the replay, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you're still here and you're not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing. Just hit that subscribe button already. Help us get up there. We'll be back on Friday for sure. We might come back on the weekend because on Monday, we will not be having a show. I will be out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, watching a football game Monday night. So I will not be able to podcast or put out a show Monday night. Maybe the guys will. I'll leave it up to them. If Blue and Hyman want to run the show, they're more than welcome to. If not, we'll figure something out next week. But we'll be back on Friday unless some kind of breaking news occurs between here and there. Y'all be safe. Y'all have a great night. Peace.